Don't move, follow me, the single dad janitor told the millionaire CEO. Seconds later, she, ***. The elevator doors sealed shut with a metallic groan, and somewhere deep in the building's spine, something cracked. Marcus Webb felt it before he heard it, a vibration through the mop handle in his hands, a shudder in the floor tiles beneath his worn work boots. 32 floors above the street, in the glass tower he cleaned every night after the world went home to their families, Marcus was about to make a choice that would change 2 lives forever. If this story moves you, please hit that like button, drop a comment telling me you believe in second chances, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this one deserve to be told, and kindness deserves to be remembered. Marcus had worked the night shift at Holloway Tower for 3 years, pushing his cart down silent hallways while his 8-year-old daughter, Nora, slept at his sister's apartment 2 bus rides away. He never complained. He couldn't afford to. Since his wife passed, every choice he made was measured against one question: what does Nora need? A steady paycheck. A father who came home smelling like floor wax instead of trouble. A man who kept his head down and did his job well, even when the executives on the top floors walked past him like he was part of the furniture. He didn't know her name that night. He only knew the sharp click of expensive heels on marble, the tired slump of a woman's shoulders as she stood alone in the lobby at 9 p.m., still in her tailored blazer, staring at her phone like it had betrayed her. Marcus recognized exhaustion when he saw it. He wore it himself most days, but hers was different. Hers was the exhaustion of someone who had everything and still felt like she was drowning. Her name was Evelyn Cross, and she was the CEO of the very company that owned the building. 38 years old, worth more money than Marcus could imagine, and utterly, achingly alone. She'd stayed late again, avoiding the empty penthouse that waited for her, the silence that had grown louder since her father's company became her inheritance instead of her choice. She barely noticed the janitor by the elevator bank. She never did. That was the quiet tragedy of people like Evelyn. They were surrounded by hundreds of employees and had never learned a single name. That was the night the building's old wiring finally gave out. The lights flickered once, twice, then plunged the 30th floor into darkness. Somewhere above them, a transformer shrieked and died. Evelyn gasped, stumbling backward as the emergency lighting kicked in with a dim red glow, and that's when Marcus saw it, a thin crack spreading across the ceiling near the old service stairwell, right where Evelyn had been about to walk to catch a working elevator. 3 years of memorizing this building's every groan and shift told him what was coming before the sign board above the stairwell entrance shuddered on its bolts. "Don't move, follow me," he said, his voice cutting through her panic with a calm she hadn't heard in years, not from board members, not from her own family. Something in his tone made her listen. She followed him without question, her heels forgotten as she kicked them off and ran barefoot across cold marble, 10 feet, 15, just as the aging sign board tore loose from the ceiling and crashed exactly where she had been standing seconds before. The silence afterward was deafening. Evelyn stood frozen, staring at the twisted metal and shattered glass on the floor, then at the janitor beside her, breathing hard, his hand still gently but firmly wrapped around her wrist as if he hadn't realized he was still holding on. In the red emergency light, she finally saw him. Really saw him. Not a uniform. Not a job title. A man who had just risked his own safety for a stranger who had never once said good evening to him. "Why did you help me?" she whispered, her voice trembling in a way that surprised her. Marcus looked at her, this woman who owned floors he'd never be invited into, and answered simply, "Because that's what you do when someone's in trouble. Doesn't matter who they are." That single sentence unraveled something in Evelyn that 3 therapists and countless meditation apps had never touched. She sat down right there on the marble floor, not caring about her ruined stockings, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she cried, not from fear, but from the strange, overwhelming relief of being seen as a person instead of a position. In the weeks that followed, something quiet and real began to grow. Evelyn learned Marcus's name, then Nora's, then the story of the wife he'd lost and the daughter he was raising with nothing but grit and love. She learned that the man who mopped her floors at night had once dreamed of becoming an engineer before life demanded he choose survival over ambition. And Marcus learned that the woman in the glass office wasn't cold or distant, she was just tired of being invisible in a different, lonelier way than he was. Evelyn didn't offer him charity. She offered him something better, a scholarship program she quietly built for employees like him, a renovated building with updated wiring so no one else would ever stand beneath a crumbling ceiling, and a friendship that neither of them had expected but both desperately needed. Nora started asking about Miss Evelyn with the kind of hope only children can carry, and Marcus began to believe, for the first time since his wife died, that good things could still find him. If this story touched your heart even a little, please let me know in the comments, share it with someone who could use a reminder that kindness still matters, and give it a like before you go. And before we close this chapter, drop the word hope in the comments if you believe everyone deserves to be seen, no matter what floor they stand on. Because sometimes the person who saves your life isn't the one with power or wealth, it's the one with a mop in his hand and a heart big enough to say, "Don't move. Follow me."